He's never fought us. Not us united.
Die. Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Indie Wednesday. I'm Jared, host of Comics League, and today we are going to talk a little bit about Tom King's Sheriff of Babylon, a different way than I normally would do Indie Wednesday because I'm trying out a new format. What I want to do is show. Okay, so Am I a Tom King fan? I mean, I like the first half of his Batman run. I like Heroes in Crisis. Yes, I will stand on that. And I like Sheriff of Babylon. Now I'm going to talk about why is Sheriff of Babylon so good? And why is and where does Tom King excel? Because I've kind of talked about this with Nerdette too. And the thing about it, here's the thing about Tom King. He works best, I think, if he's like in a 12 issue or 6 issue like mini or maxi series. In other words, he works well if he has like a story confines of like a confines for the story where he has to have a beginning, middle, and end instead of ongoing. Like a Sheriff of Babylon is straight up 2 volumes worth. And what's cool about it, he plays off a lot about he plays off of his time in Iraq as a CIA operative, or actually, no, officer. They say officer. They don't say CIA agent. Anyone that tells you that is wrong. But and basically what Sheriff of Babylon is, it's a crime story in the middle of a war zone. It is so cool. All the characters act like they would in that situation. Super cool. I like it. One of Vertigo's best books. And again, see, that's the thing about Tom King. And Nerdette had a very interesting point because I brought up to her my Tom Taylor paradox, where it's basically like he does well in elseworlds stories, but doesn't do so well in the mainstream continuity. And I think that applies more or less to Tom King. Now, granted, there are more in-continuity books that I enjoy out of Tom King than Tom Taylor, because after all, I like his Batman run for the most part. I like Heroes in Crisis because I think it's a good story by itself. If you take it by itself, ignoring the history of BS that was leveled on Wally West, it's actually pretty good. And when you think about it, here's the thing about Tom King. He's a very good writer. The problem is he has to constantly make up for he constantly has to deal with a lot of like DC editorials BS. So that's really where he stands, at least in terms of me, because I've read his fantastic stuff. I still need to read New Gods, Omega Men, and what else has he done? I feel like I'm missing. Oh yeah, Strange Adventures. I still have to read those, but I will, and I will review those on the show. But the point is, he's one of those guys. And the thing about Tom King, the reason why I like him is because I do enjoy a little bit more of those darker stories. Because, granted, I don't want the whole line to be dark, but I like a lot of the more serious comics. And Tom King 100% also excels in that because he's good at telling stories about heroes overcoming trauma, like Heroes in Crisis, or like heroes in impossible situations, which is like Batman, also Heroes in Crisis, and Sheriff of Babylon. And I think it really like is a testament to his skill as a writer and to his experience as a CIA counterterrorism operative, because this is a lot from what I've read of what they deal with. So I like how he can transfer his experience, though the way he's able, because you can clearly tell when you're reading like Sheriff that the dude knows what he's talking about in terms of like military and spy stuff. And to a certain degree with Grayson, that's another book I need to read, his Batman, his Heroes in Crisis. So all of this stuff is based on his own personal experience, which to a certain degree, depending on the writer, that can be a little bit like, oh my gosh, just write the characters the way they are, not the way you want them to be. But I think Tom King does that the least. In other words, he applies his own experience the best. That says a lot. That's why of the modern writers, in other words, of the writers that are currently regularly writing for DC, I think he's probably my favorite because, for one thing, again, like I said before, consistently he has the better books. He has the most books that I have enjoyed. Tom Taylor, yes, is good, but Tom King also has in continuity stories that I like. Where with Tom Taylor, most of it is not. Still love you, dude, in terms of your Elseworld stuff. Injustice is great, but I love how I'm reacting like he's actually watching my show. But besides the point, so that's why I like Tom King's writing, and that's why I think Sheriff of Babylon 100% reflects that because it's first off, it's a limited series where you have a beginning, middle, and end. You have those constraints. It's obviously not in continuity because it's taking place during the Iraq War and no superheroes. So it's Elseworlds, and it deals with like that darker side of warfare and like criminal investigations that I very much like. So that's why so I think Sheriff of Babylon is if you want to know why I like Tom King's writing, just look at those three components and how they play into this book, and you will, for the most part, see that Tom King is one of the most underrated writers, I think, in comic books. So that's where I'm going to leave it. That I know it wasn't really a review of Sheriff of Babylon per se, but I kind of wanted to use the book as an example of why I like Tom King's writing. Because again, he's one of the greatest, and I count it as indie, even though it's a subsidiary of DC because it's not superhero stuff. Mainly when I say indie, I mean obviously not big 2 books and not superhero books. So that's besides the point. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Remember, this weekend we are going to do the Snyderverse stream, the reaction streams to Full Circle, where we all talk about. Where we all just host a panel on our channels. Jay Heat and Talati are going to co-stream it are going to co-host it on Friday for the Man of Steel panel. I'm going to do the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice panel, I believe at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. And then Nick is going to do the Zack Snyder's Justice League panel on Sunday. We're still getting the times more or less finalized, but we're working on that. And in terms of what's coming up on Under Two Capes, Nick and I are going to do an Under Two Capes episode this weekend about when it's appropriate to gatekeep. And then what we're also going to do is we are going to do we are going to do I'm going to do a collab with Nerdette next week on if our comic books woke. We're going to have a nice little civil debate on that. So that's all the content you can look forward to on Comics League. Stay heroic, everyone, and I will see you in the next indie book. Bye-bye.